In this episode of Restoring Susanna, Clint and John show us how to cut and plane a plank. Ooh.
Hold it. Just gonna support this piece right here. Massage it so it doesn't fall out. Right.
Doug shows us where the splining was done in Maine that has now split and may force us to replace more planks than we had planned.
So I don't know what went on up there, other than to say, what I don't like is it looks like that plank is popped out.
We're going to introduce a new segment called Plank Count.
I didn't get it.
And John is going to bring us up to date on The Roommate.
Yes, it's a nightmare.
Okay, one more time. Ready? And action.
That was horrible.
This is what we call Bootcut Lumber, and the reason for it is that you get these big curves that are shaped like the planks. If you look at that plank there, it looks pretty straight. But if you look down this one, you'll see there's a huge hook at the end. And that's why we use this type of wood. We select it for the grain structure. So the grain actually follows the shape of the plank pretty closely. Yeah. So it sweeps, goes pretty straight for a while, and makes a sudden sweep right with the grain. And this plank, this piece of wood, you're able to get 4 planks out of one piece of wood.
You're going to get 4 planks out of this one piece?
Yeah, those two that are on the boat, the 2 number 4s. Yeah, number 4, as you can see on the port side here, is already in. Starboard side's fitted. We're going to drill through the fasteners today. Try to get it in. We got those 2 plus this one, plus we'll get a 3rd plank about 18 feet long somewhere else on the boat.
Oh, so this board has already been cut in half?
Oh, it was huge. It was this big.
Okay.
It was one of those big monsters out there.
Okay.
Here's the cutoff of that plank.
A nice table.
You need a coffee table.
Oh, this whole thing. Oh, wow.
Yeah, this is how big that plank was.
Wow.
And what was it, 28'6" or something long.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this is the worst one. They get better as they go down in the stack. So we can get 4 planks, I'm pretty sure, out of the subsequent pieces.
So I'll make my first cut along here to where it dies off the plank edge right there. And then this is such a small area that it wouldn't be worth cutting with the saw, so Doug will hand plane that all the way out. And then my second cut will be this full length cut. I'll leave probably an 1/8 inch on each side for him to, as he calls it, a parachute.
So cut on the outside of that line.
Yeah. No, you can do it right there. When I get about right here with my cut, hold it. Just gonna support this piece right here. Massage it so it doesn't fall out. Right. Let's see. Yeah. Don't pinch it or bind it.
This is an old 1955 Powermatic 18-inch plank. Still runs like new. And Made in America. Made in America, yeah. Made in America.
so we're looking at some splines here, and we're seeing that this, what I thought was like the most bulletproof of all techniques. Look, the seams are splitting. These are the ones above the waterline.
Yeah, well anyway, it's a scarf that's done very short. See it? It's not much more than a 45-degree angle. But it's also done 90 degrees off. It shouldn't have been done on the edge like that vertically. It should have been rather done vertically this way, if at all. So I don't know what went on up there, other than to say, what I don't like is it looks like that plank just popped out. Well, here's the deal with short planks, especially in the top sides. I know that they've been splined. They should have been a wedge-shaped spline, but they're square. Anyway, the mast is right here, right about there.
Yeah.
Which means the rigging is right about here, pulling upwards on the hull. If you have these types of loose, short planks, you can get the hull, what they call hogging. The boat will actually begin to, the deck line will lift in that area, and the shear line of the boat will change from a nice sweeping shear to a glumpity hog, as they call it. So that's a concern, and once again, that's not going to sink you, but it's going to drive you crazy. So it's got to be done. Anyway, so this plank's only about 8 feet, and it's scarfed in a very funny way, so we're going to have to address that. That's all there is to it.
Okay, planking update, September 5th. Action.
Okay, ready to go. Here we go.
Here we go. Nice and loud and clear.
Okay, what we want to do down here in the bilge, what you're trying to achieve is, we talked about before, but you want to use the planks to help the rest of the structure. That's why you fasten them to everything. A lot of people would say, boy, there's a lot of screws in this plank. But if you walk back here, this knee goes down like this.
Yeah.
And that's why all these screws are in here, because we want to connect that knee to this stern post, or rudder post, whatever you want to call it. And so we're using the planks for that. And we want to go full-length planks up to at least here if we can. That way we're connecting this rudder post to that knee to all the frames, and then we'll walk up here. So that these planks will come way up into the forefoot from the stern. The reason that's important, remember we keep talking about this mouth that opens when you're sailing. If you can imagine these planks as being long, stressed levers, it really adds a lot of strength to the forefoot area. And by molding them the way we do, you can't see it. There's a glue line here. We split them, and then we put epoxy in the split. Can't see it. You can see it a little bit there. And we clamp it up overnight so that it forms to the shape of the hull. If you look from dead forward here, you can see the sudden swoop, twist, and curve that the planks make in that last 4 to 5 feet.
Yeah, I think we even saw that last time.
Yeah. So that's why we mold them. And same back aft, because there's a huge amount of twist that lasts 7 or 8 feet. And by doing that, it also causes the plank to become very stiff, which is what you want down in the bilge. Everywhere, really, but that's important here.
All right, tell everybody. Everybody's curious how
Yeah.
it's going with the roommate.
Okay, here's the deal. Here's the deal. So one day I walk into the place, right?
Yeah.
On the back door, there's freaking 8x10, says 3-day pay or vacate premise, right? Then on it says July, 2000, August, 2000, total 4,000, right?
There's a chip for your shoulder.
So I'm like, shit, this motherfucker is living off my money, right? So I paid $1,000 to move in and then $1,000 for last month.
Right.
So I told him, hey, 4 days ago, I'm putting my 30 days in. I'm done. He goes, oh, really? Well, here's the deal. You're supposed to pay me $1,000 when you tell me it's your last month. I'm like, really? Where do you come up with this concept? See, he was in the hole for 2 months.
Right.
So he used my $2,000 to pay for the June, for being late in June, right? But he was still short $1,000. So his deal of making the deal was, he was like, hey, I'm gonna still get another 1,000 from you. I told him, I said, dude, you're not getting 1,000 from me. Don't even go there. You didn't even tell me that you had issues with Brent already. I shouldn't have even made this deal with you. I wouldn't have made this business deal if you were honest and had the integrity and forthright and honest in the beginning. Hey, I'm in the hole right now. I was fuming. I was like, you motherfucker. Yeah, he called me a bitch. He goes, I go, what are you laughing at? And he goes, because you're acting like a bitch. And I go, oh man, I started turning inside. I was like, oh my gosh. Oh. So anyways, I held my composure. I didn't hurt him. I didn't get angry. I just went to my room and played the piano. But yes, it's a nightmare there.
This is called?
Frame dubbing.
Well, no, you say it. This
I just
called,
did.
No.
Okay. Okay, what we're doing here is, this is called frame dubbing. We're using a batten to find the high spots in the frames and floor timbers so that the new planks will lay nice and tight. I don't know if you remember the old planks, but there were some gaps in here. Remember that? Of like an 1/8 inch or more.
Yeah.
And so we've managed to, as we go, and in a couple places you have to shim, you just have to. There's a shim here. This floor timber was way in, like almost a quarter.
Yeah.
So we'll have to put another shim here, remember that? So we'll probably glue that today if we can. So if we get a nice tight fit up against the frames throughout where we can with the plank. Anyway, so in here, this old frame,
Yeah.
so we drilled out so we can use these same holes. So now that we're getting up into the older stuff,
Yeah.
we'll have to be drilling from the inside out to not just keep creating a whole bunch of new holes. You see how our new plank fits here? That's what you're looking for. You want to get tight on the inside, all the way along, and then your caulking bevel on the outside. Get up into here, they're pretty flat. These are pretty easy planks. There's not a whole lot of monkeying with them. And then these start to curve the other way, of course, so we use my hollow plane to back them out. Anyway.
Well, it will be that would be somewhere around season 3.
Howdy, you guys.
What's going on over here? You've been drilling.
Yeah, we drilled here, and because of the way the boat's built, there's different size frames, so you have to use different size drill bits. These will be 2 inch, these will be 1 3/4. These will be 3 inch, so they pass through this fairly small frame and into the floor timber.
Nice.
Same back here. You can't hardly see the frame, it's a nice fit. Same here, these will all be 3 1/2s. So we're not only installing planks, but we're really attaching those frames to those floors
To the floor timber.
using the plank fasteners. So
Gotcha.
wherever you can, you try to add a little strength. And then on these newer frames here, some of our sisters, we've installed little carriage bolts, little 1/4 inch bronze carriage bolts.
Okay.
You can see them on the inside and the other side there.
They go all the way through.
Yeah.
Oh, those are the heads.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. That's got to be nice and tight, huh?
Oh yeah. Remember you were worried about this laminate coming apart?
Yeah.
Well, if you think about it, this is going to have
It's going all the way through.
a whole bunch of little carriage bolts. All the glue could go away and it's not going to.
I see. Here's another one up here.
How many times we go up with this one? 3 or 4, which is about an average in this area. 3 or 4 tries is pretty typical for this area. Okay. Can you go up just a little bit, Clint? Yep. Can you get it? Okay. All right. There she goes. Now, when we get over to the bench, you can get an idea how much shape we had to put in that plank. You see how twisted it is?
Yeah.
Of course, it's not nearly as twisted as when it goes on the boat, but by splitting the ends, it relieves 80% of that pressure. So you see how they fit into this rabbit now?
Yeah, beautiful.
Nice and tight. There's no load whatsoever on the fasteners because by splitting these planks like this and epoxying them back together overnight, using the boat as a mold, it takes all the load off the fasteners and you get a nice tight. This plank would be really straining the screws right now had we left it full thickness. Whereas now, we can come over here and look. See why you got it down on the bench. We do a little hollowing here too. In this area. Just to keep it from having to work so much up on the boat. These are all the notations here. These hieroglyphics are for the caulking bevel. And use different colors each time. Start with black, you go to red, and you go to green. Which each time you change colors, it trumps the other colors. So you don't get lost in all these numbers. Okay, we start with a strong number 1 here. Then we taper down to 0. And this is 0. We begin to taper here to a full 1. And we taper here some more to a 1 plus. You see that? And this continues along. We taper out to a 2. This is our final go on the caulking bevel. You can see I like to make them small. About an 1/8 inch on this boat this size. And we taper back down to a 1. Oh, I almost got lost here. Here we go. This stays a 1 for a long way along here. Down to a small 1 to 0.
So then you're going to cut that out? That part? That's going to be now cut out so you can,
well, use
for the caulking?
Use a plane
Yeah, okay.
at an angle. And the caulking bevel, you see my line here? Usually goes in about halfway to the, depending on the boat. Now this one goes in about 60% of the way because we know we're going to be taking a little more material off it. The plank's still a little too thick.
Okay.
So roughly halfway. And so that's removed using an old standing number 5. We need to get that plank there.
Plank over?
Yeah. Actually, we can use this one. Okay. Yeah, we just need 1 or 2 Clint. It's a regular old bench plane or jack plane, whatever you want to use. Sometimes you can use a block plane would be fine on this particular one. Let me get that clamp going there. Yeah, that's good. So we just take this out, just run it on down until that green line that we made disappears. And you see how it tapers to 0 there? Till you got a nice caulking bevel. It's pretty consistent. When people ask you how long does each step take for a plank? I just tell them it doesn't take very long each step, but there's so damn many of them to make it a plank. You can come in with this little plane now. See how it lays nice? It's a lot handier than the bigger plane in these curved areas. It's got a shorter sole, of course. Use the larger planes usually just to remove the initial material, and depending on a lot of things, you can finish it out with this. You see how the bevel is now?
Yeah.
Pretty consistent. Yeah. Line here. And you could actually build a whole boat with this plane.
I think Doug better get a few more planers then, or we're going to be here for a pretty long time. As we wrap up this episode, let's get a plank count then. 8 planks. Let's hear it for the number 8. Next time, we'll hope to see 2 or 3 more boards on each side. Doug, Clint, and John have been on the job for 5 months now, so things got to start cranking soon. We're also going to take a new look inside the bow and talk about the repairs needed for this area.
I like a tooth.
And we're going to learn about Doug's new custom tooth.
Talk about that. We didn't talk about that. That's another segment. Doug's tooth. The whole another segment. Look at him. He's happy, he's smiling. Check out the tooth. Come on, the camera. It's going to be.
We do it all.
It looks perfect.
The guy with the $1 million smile.
That's right.
There you go.
We do it all.
This is about 50 cents worth of materials. 20 minutes of hard labor.
You can have one for every day of the year for what you're going to pay for the new one.
Hey, when you're surrounded by negative people, they only talk about the one that's missing, not the 25 good ones you got. Hey, you know that Doug, he's got 25 good teeth. No. It's always. What are you auditioning for a remake of Deliverance?